My guest today on the Dolphin Tales Podcast is Tony Jasick, head men's basketball coach at Jacksonville University. And Coach, we've done plenty of radio shows together, but first time I've had you on this version of this podcast that we've been doing. So thanks for taking the time to join me today.
No problem. I actually prefer this method because it's even further away from you than the recommended social distancing protocols.
Works out for one and all in this
That's
case.
right.
Well, we're going to get a little bit into the fact that college basketball is one of the few sports that's actually getting a chance to kind of get things in motion again here. We'll touch on that here in a moment, but I want to kind of go back, since it's been a while since we've caught up, and get an idea of how you spent that time in which everything, it was right at the end of basketball season, and then the world kind of ground to a halt. And what did you do during the extensive quarantine period we had there? Did you pick up any new hobbies, find some TV shows?
Well, it's interesting. The start of it, probably the first, because when did it start? Started about beginning of March, and our guys were still in school, and so from March until the beginning of May, I guess. Boy, it was pretty busy. Just kind of trying to stay on top of it, make sure we're communicating, make sure our guys are doing everything that they need to do academically. Also trying to finish up some recruiting, all over Zoom or over the phone. So it was a lot. It was a lot for our guys, a lot for our staff, and I thought we did a pretty good job of managing it there for that first kind of 2 months or so while school was in session. And then once school got out, that's when some of the binge watching of bad TV shows at night started, and all of your daily habits just kind of went to waste because there wasn't a whole lot going on. And, you're kind of at home for an extended period of time. And then as it's continued to progress, we started making plans for our guys to come back. Our guys are now back. We started workouts this week, so we've been able to get on the floor with them and spend some time in that environment, which has been good.
How did you handle recruiting? You said it's Zoom, but you're so used to being on the road and getting out and seeing guys in that portion of the year, right? How different was it?
Well, we were fortunate, and our staff did a really good job, Scott, of having a lot of guys that we felt were close to being ready to commit. We had really evaluated them as players already to that point. So the only piece that was hanging out was, kind of getting commitments without visiting. And so, that made it a unique recruiting experience where you're kind of taking your phone around on FaceTime visits and showing guys different parts of campus as you're walking through it on your phone, because they weren't able to visit. And, you want them to be excited. You want for them to be excited when they get here. You want for them to feel like they had a sense of kind of what they were getting into. And that's challenging as you're doing it over FaceTime on a phone.
No doubt. I wish I could have kind of seen that, honestly, just you walking through campus with your phone up in the air. Showing
I'm actually glad most people didn't see it. We'll keep that one between us and the recruits.
Give me an example of one bad TV show you watched.
I only watch bad TV shows.
Yeah, I know. So I'm not asking you to list all of them. I just one in particular.
Well, we kind of got into, boy, I'm really kind of embarrassed. But you know what? You got to own it. You are who you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we got into some of the Love is Blind. Have you seen those?
I've not seen it. I'm aware of the concept, though.
We got into Marriage at First Sight, which is another show where basically they're all bad.
Yeah, but that one's pretty straightforward, I think.
Yeah, they go through this whole process and they narrow it down to, 3 or 4 couples, and then they literally the first time they see each other is at the altar, and they kind of chronicle it for I don't know if it's 8 weeks or whatnot until the end. So
that gets me. I don't know about that.
I'm not proud, but it is what it is. It is what it is. You asked the question.
I did.
I try to pride myself on being honest. So there's the honest answer.
All right. Well, I'm always fascinated by, we've well documented your bachelor habits there for a while. We've touched on a lot of different shows over the years. So it was a golden era, probably those couple months for bad TV. So I was just curious as to what the connoisseur himself watched.
Our guys are back. Our guys have been back for some of them have been back for, this is their third week back. And I've kind of run out of those shows. So you start asking them what they're watching. Like, hey, what are you guys watching? And boy, that'll lead you down a dark path.
I was going to say.
I mean, holy cow. Dangerous. I started watching a couple of these shows that they recommended. And I showed up the next day at breakfast like, fellas, I don't know about that. So it's been unique.
How has these last couple of weeks with workouts and everything resuming and getting the players back on campus? I mean, it's kind of a big deal because no one else is really back to anything yet. And yet football and men's and women's basketballs have been able to do these workouts. How have you all kind of coordinated and tried to make this work?
Well, it's, that piece of it's pretty easy. And I think it's been really good for our players. When they came back, you got to understand, this is probably the first time in most of them's, college experience where it's been kind of like this, where they've been away for so long. Mm-hmm. And then they came back a couple weeks ago and you could just sense and tell that there was some uneasiness, some unsureness. Obviously every time they turn on the TV or the internet, it's all bad. There hasn't been, when's the last positive story that's come out on anything? So it's kind of been a little bit of a unique environment, a unique vibe around our players, around our team. I think they've done a pretty good job of managing their day-to-day. And then fortunately we got to start, I guess today is Tuesday. So we've had our second day of actually coaches being able to work them out. And we've done it in small groups, just to kind of get them back going. And now you can see some of the life back, some smiles, some positive energy, some positive feedback from them. So just trying to get them back to as close to a normal day as we possibly can, while still being mindful of, the potential risks that are perceived to be out there.
So what, they do the workout and all, but what else they're just hanging out on campus?
Well, so their day looks like this. They breakfast, obviously they're the only ones on campus. So every window has been shrunk. The cafeteria is open for breakfast in the morning. They'll eat together as a team in the morning. And then they come and they do kind of their daily screenings, where they get their temperature checked and they do a questionnaire. Then we'll work them out basketball wise in the morning in small groups. Then they'll go to lunch. And then after lunch, again, we'll be in small groups, but then they'll go and work out in the weight room with our strength coach, Coach Bates, who's doing a fantastic job with our group. Then they go to dinner. And then after that, we've got probably, I'd say 70% of our guys are in class, all online right now. And so they'll do their academic stuff after dinner. And then, then our goal and our hope for them is that they come back in at the gym at night and get some simple shooting in. Because when we do our workouts, we're trying to work on a little bit of everything right now. And you don't get the number of shots up in a 30 to 35 minute basketball workout that you need to for a day's work. So getting them back in there at night, simply getting some shots up, getting some reps up, is kind of what their day looks like now.
I imagine not all these guys had the opportunity to get shots up during the last several months anyway. So probably even more important, right?
Yeah. And it just kind of depended on, again, you know all this, Scott, depending on where they lived and kind of how their governmental and political leaders felt about this. Some places had nothing, couldn't go to a gym, couldn't do anything, couldn't go outside. And then others were much looser with the way they were handling the situation in their area. So some guys have been able to get in the gym. Some guys not quite as much. Now, the reality of it is most of them, once it got to kind of the beginning of June, they were all finding gyms to play in. And so, there was a period, again, from the start of this thing kind of in March until probably about June where there wasn't a whole lot happening for them. And they, just kind of sitting around the house and seeing what's going on. And then once June hit, I think a lot of them, gyms were starting to open back up. Guys were starting to play again. And they were kind of getting back to work.
I know just a few years ago, the NCAA kind of tweaked the schedule for how basketball workouts went, kind of changed the calendar around a little bit. How close are you all to kind of regular on the calendar right now to where you would be in a normal year?
Well, it depends on what from what perspective, Scott. If you're talking about with our players and workouts, we probably will wind up missing about 3 weeks.
Okay.
Generally, you get 8 weeks to work out your guys in the summer. You pick whatever 8 you want. And for us, I think with the way school kind of starting a little bit earlier and kind of the regulations being pushed back to July 20th, I think we're going to get 5 weeks of workouts with our players before school starts. So not the end of the world, no, nothing to really be too disappointed about from that perspective. I think you're right. You said it earlier. It's a good thing we do get the opportunity to work them out for really everybody's well-being. Now, from a recruiting perspective, I think the calendar's kind of been thrown to the wind.
Right.
We haven't been able to go out since whatever that day was. Let's just say March 1st, when kind of all the basketball tournaments and all the sporting events kind of got shut down. Bang, 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 and they have put a dead period in place through. I don't know now if it's through August or through September yet. I think it might only be through August, but there's no doubt that that's going to get extended for some period of time. So in terms of getting out on the road, we don't see guys. It's been shut down, and now we're able to. What's interesting about the whole deal is we can't go out on the road and recruit, but the summer tournaments, the summer events, they're still going on, so we can watch them on the internet. And the kids, the fans, everyone, you wouldn't really notice anything out of the ordinary. You'll see some masks being worn, which is obviously a new deal this summer, and rightfully so. But otherwise, it looks like business as usual for a lot of the tournaments, a lot of the teams that are playing. So all evaluations right now are through video.
How do you feel that changes things? So watching on video versus watching in person?
Yeah, I think a lot more mistakes will be made, both in coaches with regards to who they recruit, who they sign. I think it'll be mistakes made on where kids wind up going, because now it's all going to be, kids aren't going to get to see, touch, and feel their decision. They're not going to be able to go to JU and compare it to, you pick whoever we're recruiting against. They won't be able to compare the campuses. You won't be able to really sit down and have good face-to-face interaction with families and coaching staffs. I think that's a big piece to when you look at guys who wind up having good experiences. And that doesn't necessarily mean guys that come in and start for 4 years and score 2,000 points. Like there are different ways to have a really good college basketball experience. And I think the ones who start off with the strongest relationships through the recruiting process and make, the best decision, the most informed decision, they usually have the best experience. And, a lot of that knowledge and a lot of those boxes that need to be checked in making a good decision, the opportunity just doesn't exist to do that.
Obviously, it's really hard to look to the future and predict anything, but where are you all, what would be the nice next step for you all to take now that you've settled into a little bit of a routine here? I know only 2 days in to these workouts, but where are you trying to go from here? We're
trying to win a few games, Scotty.
That sounds good to me.
That's what we're trying to do. No, I think obviously there's a lot that goes into the decisions that are being made right now from a college basketball, from a national, from a local perspective. I think the only way that really you can kind of keep your sanity as a coach or a player is just wake up and attack what's in front of you that day. Everybody's kind of going through the same thing, whether your university may have a little bit different guidelines than maybe ours or the next one, but everybody's got some type of kind of guidelines and protocol that they're going through. So we're not alone in this process. I think that everybody feels pretty positive about a college basketball season being played. The good thing that we've got going on, and obviously they have some advantages, but when you look at what has happened with some of the PGA Tour is doing fantastic with their protocols. The NBA is getting ready to start, Major League Baseball. And you just hope that these things go off and go well. We've got a few more months until really our season is impacted one way or the other. And I think that really the only way as a coach and as a player that you can handle your business is just to go with it. Like, hey, we're going to start. We're going to have games the 1st of November, and we're going to play, and we got to prepare to do that.
Have you talked with other coaches about,
Nope.
like, are you guys trying to –
I really actually went and dug myself a hole and just sat in it for the last 6 months. Haven't talked to anybody.
shut yourself off?
Yep.
How much can you guys lean on each other though, and try and I don't know if there's advice or just like chatting or anything.
I think it depends on the conversation. What I mean by that is I think there's a lot of, and again, over the last however many months it's been, 4 or 5 months, I guess, the conversations have all been different. It started off with what in the world are we going through? Like, what is this? What's going on? Then it went to, okay, how are you managing your team? How are you managing recruiting? Then it went to, what are you planning to do in the summer with your guys? What is that going to look like on your campus? Are you bringing them back? When are you bringing them back? What are you doing in workouts? Are you doing small group? Are you doing whole team? What, like those conversations, and now it's led to, a lot of speculation about what does our season look like? What is option A? Option A is obviously play a full season. Mm-hmm. What is option B? What is option C? And those things. And the reality of it is I think a lot of people are just so bored and they really don't have a seat at the table. So you get all these wild ideas that are thrown your way that people evaluate and argue about when really, I don't know if there's any credibility to any of them at the decision maker level. So again, it just goes back to trying to wake up every morning and do the absolute best job you can on that particular day with the task at hand.
Well, I know this, Coach, it's early with this group, but what gets you kind of excited about this potential for the coming season?
Yeah, I like our team. We've got a handful of new guys. I think we're going to have some experience, which is good. We've got a couple of guys who sat last year that are going to need to bring something to the table, and I think they can. Kevion Nolan and Tyrese Davis, who Tyrese is looking good after sitting out last year with his knee injury. I think we had some really bright spots as the year went on. Late in the year, I think that Mo Arnold really kind of established himself as one of the better guards in the league. Coming back as a sophomore, we're going to put more on his plate. I think he's ready for it, and hopefully he can take one more step. Obviously, Deontay Wood had a career game in our last game last season, and again, I don't know what he had, 20, 24, 25 points. Like, that's not the expectation, but just the assertiveness, the confidence, and level with which he played at was really good to see. And then we're going to have a couple of new faces that hopefully can come in and have an impact on our team. We'll have some old faces that are going to have a chance to compete for time, who maybe haven't gotten a ton here the last couple of years. Corey Romick, Derek Flowers have a chance to compete. We've got a couple new guys, and Dontarius James, who transferred from Xavier, that I think needs to come in and have an impact on our team. Among I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but at the end of the day, I think we've got some guys that played well as the year went on. Last year, we got a couple guys who have had an impact on programs at this level. Obviously Kevion wasn't here, but he's played at this level and has done a good job. Tyrese impacted our team as a freshman to go along with new guys, which you hope can step in and really have an impact early and often in their first year.
Well, Coach, have fun as this thing kind of rolls along. It's great that we've got some teams back on campus and starting to establish a little bit of this culture of, okay, maybe we're getting back into this thing and looking forward to hopefully someday in the near future getting out and getting a chance to put my eyes on that team as well as they go through the stuff and we get ready for a season whenever that may start. But I appreciate you joining me today on the Dolphin Tales Podcast.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. Be safe. And like I said, look forward to get back at it with everybody involved sooner than later.